Hi, can you hear me? Hi, okay, cool. So, yeah, we are good friends, so we sit closely.
Also, it's cold here.
Yeah, it's cold here, pretty cold. And no, they asked us not to wear a jacket here, so it's kind of torture. Welcome to today's topic. It's one of the most exciting and critical topic for the Web3, which is wallet and managing your digital assets. Today, I'm really glad to invite all these panelists, Michael from CoolBitX, Chang-Wu from imToken, and also Hsuan from Blocto. Yeah, so they are the most important critical infrastructure providers now in the Web3 field. Short introduction about myself, Ernie. I'm from Chainsight. What we provide is an API for Web3 background checks, which is kind of, we detect crypto NFT scam to help people to avoid those risks. We just graduated from YC. And so honored to ask a question. And now I'm going to give each panelist a minute to introduce yourself. So let's start from Michael from CoolBitX.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michael, founder and CEO of CoolBitX. And I started a company in 2014 in a very, very similar situation, just like what we'd experienced recently. So back in 2013, we experienced the Mt. Gox event where 85% of the world cryptocurrency trading volume on that single exchange failed, bankrupt. So we thought the industry could have done better. So we wanted to build the most secure and easy to use wallet infrastructure for the industry. So we created a Cool Wallet. And we've been around for 8 years. It's a non-custodial cold storage. Currently have roughly 300,000 users and securing over $20 billion US dollars worth of cryptocurrency. And we look to explore more Web3 applications and possibilities with everyone here together. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm like Chang-Wu from imToken.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chang-Wu from imToken. I'm now the head of imToken Labs with 30 people. I have a research team doing cryptography and DeFi protocol and also layer 2 protocol. Most of our engineers are more focused on Ethereum ecosystem. And for imToken, we are the most biggest digital wallet in Asia. We have 50 million users now in Web3. So every day there's a lot of volume come into our wallet. And also we have a DeFi protocol. We call it a token. It's just like 1 inch. It's a DeFi aggregator. So every day, user would like to swap their token, go through in our token on exchange. And also we provide BTC gateway to help user to wrap their Ether or BTC into the Ethereum. And also we explore more application like payment things. So we just built a payment solution over on the Starware solution called StarCax. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thanks, Chang-Wu. And Hsuan from Blocto.
Hi, I'm Hsuan from Blocto. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Blocto, and I've been working in this space for quite some time, since 2015 when Ethereum started. And I used to work in the cryptocurrency exchange. We also built our own layer 1 protocol. And back in 2019, my co-founder and I, we thought that one of the biggest problem in the space right now before it can get adoption, mass adoption, is user experience. So we started Portal and our product Blocto and try to make the blockchain onboarding experience as simple as it can be. And now we are working with games, Web2 companies to bring their users into Web3 space. And yeah, that's me.
Thanks, all the panelists' introduction. And now let's get into the topic. Since wallets are the passport and gateway to the Web3, and people might confuse what different wallets, what type of wallet, how they protect our digital identity and privacy while balancing UX and security. So now I'm going to invite one of the panelists to introduce the differentiation of different wallet, and later on invite other panelists to have more introduction about their own wallet. Yeah. So Chang-Wu, please introduce. Yeah.
Okay. So I will give a very brief wallet introduction. So maybe for most of people now know there are two kinds of types of a wallet. One is hard wallet, and the other is we call it a cold wallet. So for hard wallet, is kind of a wallet is running on your computer or your mobile app, and then you can access the Wi-Fi or the internet always online. And for the cold wallet, it's just like a device. We call it just like a hard wallet key, and the private key actually is inside the cold wallet, but it keeps the private key offline, so it's more secure. Yeah, and also we can have different types of wallet. Sometimes we have smart contract wallet or a single private key wallet or something. Maybe in the future, maybe we will have some kind of we call it the extra account wallet. Yeah, it's lots of types of wallet. But for some essential things, I would say it's a non-custodial and a custodial. For non-custodial, it means the private key is controlled by yourself. So your assets actually is under your control. But for custodian wallet, it's just more like a centralized exchange. So centralized exchange will, secure your assets. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks for Chang-Wu's introduction. Can you briefly introduce? I know there are different wallet providers here. Can you briefly introduce what's the your wallet? What's the pros and cons? So, as a user perspective, how can we choose the right wallet for ourselves? So starting from let's say Michael, and then Chang-Wu and Blocto.
Okay.
Michael and.
Since Chang-Wu already gave an introduction about the differences between hot wallet and cold wallet, I will dig into more about cold wallet. And that goes back to why we designed cold wallet as what it looks like in a credit card size, just like I put it out from my actual wallet here. Why we designed in this form factor, which is important. When Mt. Gox was hacked 9 years ago, we were looking into market why nobody was using cold wallet to store their crypto, although there were a lot of cold wallet options already. And the reason being, all those wallets were too difficult to use. It's almost impossible for a regular user, a non-techie, non-nerdy person to use it. So form factor matters. That is why we designed our cool wallet in a credit card size where you can carry every day. And why this portability matters? Because in this whole Web3 revolution that we are all experiencing, there are more and more scenarios where you need to do more smart contract transactions or any kind of approval on the go. Maybe when you're walking your dog, when you're having lunch, when you're in crypto events, all those side events where exciting things happen. There are a lot of times you don't want to miss an opportunity. Maybe it's a one-time offer that you see on OpenSea. Maybe it's a one-time deal you make when you meet an important person. You can't possibly tell them, hey, give me 2 hours, I'll get home and sign that transaction for you. You miss that, right?
Yeah.
So with our wallet, we design in a credit card size you carry every day, and it has Bluetooth that talks to your smartphone, which enable you to sign any transactions anytime, anywhere, when you want to. So going back to the differences in all those different cold wallets in the market, among all, I think portability matters the most. Security, we all have more or less a similar security standard, but portability and user experience matters a lot.
Sure. So like portability and it's user friendly is very important from the perspective of cold wallet. And since actually, there's an order here because Michael is more into cold wallet, and Chang-Wu is in between, and the Shen is more into hot wallet. So let's just get into the order. So Chang-Wu can introduce imToken.
Okay, yeah. So for imToken, it started in 2015, and it's quite a long time. So at the beginning, I think the security is the first, is for the whole blockchain space. So at the beginning, imToken just is doing a mobile app. So this is at that time, it's the first mobile app. You can use it to transfer token at that time, but for that moment, it's only used by those crypto users. So at the beginning, you need to learn how to doing the right thing, how to transfer your token, how to speed up when your transaction got stuck. And later, and then when we have a lot of, DeFi application or a lot of DeFi app, then our user need to learn how to interact with the smart contract. And at that time, they need to know more because, there are a lot of things, something like people will make some scam token, so it's used to get their token approval or something. And later we find that at this moment, most of the companies are doing their networks or the layer 1 protocol like the public chain. So we need to support all kinds of public chain. So people also need to learn what is network and what is layer 2. So maybe some of you might not learn this word. So I think at this time, what imToken doing is how do we integrate all of this kind of thing into the mobile app, and to tell the user how to use the app in the correct way. So we will label something like if the smart contract is malicious, we will label it's risky, but we do not limit the user to access the smart contract because this is a non-custodial wallet. User have their whole control to interact with anything. And also, we know the people need some choice. So we have some hardware wallet, we call it imKey. So if you are a professional crypto user, then you might want to secure your asset in a more secure way and put it into the hardware wallet. So it's kind of like we provide choice. But if you are the user, you need to know the trade-off, and you need to know the risk, and choose the wallet as you can.
Yeah, really thanks Chang-Wu for introduction for imToken. And let me just give the control to Shane.
Yeah, sure. So to put it out there first, I am a strong believer of decentralization, Web3, blockchain, but we also have to be practical that if we want to onboard the next billion users into the space, we probably can't force them to start with like a self-custody solution. We want them to get there, but probably not at day one. So the solution that we're building is a mixed custodial solution that user can like enjoy a more Web2-like experience. They can set up a wallet, like with their email, with their social account, and start using applications like within 10 seconds. And then like once they accumulate more assets in their wallet and they learn more about blockchain, learn more about decentralization in the process, they have the choice to switch to a self-custody solution or like a hardware wallet solution. So that is the kind of experience that we are building. So our wallet is smart contract based. It starts with custodial experience, and it can be switched to a self-custody experience. It can be integrated with hardware wallets once user get more familiar, and they can like take back the control like into their hands. But yeah, they have the time to get there.
Sure. So, thanks for Shen for sharing, because Web3 there is a really steep learning curve. So many things, terminology, layer 1, layer 2, wallet, and different kinds of wallet. And this is very important for users to understand what the differentiate, what's the pros and cons for themselves, so that they can make the selection wisely. And so let me just take to the second topic, which is something that people keep learning from seeing on the Twitter space, FTX event. So I just want to know what's the after the FTX crash, what do you learn from this event, and how can wallet provider provide to the valuable services to their users? And so can we just start from again maybe the same order?
Yep. As I mentioned in the beginning of this panel, we started a company, CoolBitX, the same reason as what we experienced with FTX. Mt. Gox event was a tragedy, so is FTX. Actually, people forget all the time. And we've been encouraging this idea of not your keys, not your crypto, that you should always have the ownership of your private keys that have access to your blockchain assets, whether it's native token, ERC20, NFTs, whatever it is. As long as you put your assets on a third-party platform, you are always under risk that if the counterparty that helps you to store your assets is undergoing some kind of events, whether it's being hacked, or it's an inside job, or it's a bankruptcy, or it's anything that stops you from withdrawing your assets, all your savings, all the earnings you've made in the past few months, years, will be gone, just like what happens with FTX. So even Elon Musk or CZ himself on Twitter have publicly announced that they encourage users to have a cold wallet, put your assets in it instead of having most of the assets on the platform. It's a safer choice.
Sure. Well, it's a hard lesson. And what's your view, like Chang-Wu?
So speaking of FTX crash, I think the lesson we should know is the Web3 company, we need to do much better than we can to provide more, good user experience wallet. Because I think all of this stuff is because at the beginning when the user want to onboard to the Web3 space, they need to have a wallet. But just like Ernie just said, the learning curve is pretty high. So they don't want to just choose the non-custodial wallet because you need to control your private key, your anything, and the responsibility and the control is controlled by yourself. So it's really hard for the normal user to take care of all of this. So that's why I think the user would like to choose the centralized exchange at the beginning. So this is a key thing. And then another thing is, could we provide another solution we can do key recovery? If we can help users to protect their private key in a very good or secure way to do key recovery, then of course the user would like to control the assets because, I think nobody would like to, hand over your assets to exchange or some custodian. It's all because I cannot guarantee I can secure my private key. So this is a key thing. So I think the user experience is pretty important. So how do we, make the wallet better is the next thing we need to build for the future wallet. And another lesson or the concern, that's what I think is maybe when we experience FTX crash, the cold wallet is popular. But I need to remind all of the user, if you have some cold wallet, you need to know this is not the absolutely secure things that you hold because you still need to remember your PIN code. And of course, this is a hardware, so it might be broken in 2 or 3 years. So maybe, if you put your assets in the safe one day, and one day you take it out, and you find the firmware is not upgraded, you need to upgrade to the new version. And also you forgot your PIN code, or the keyboard is broken. So how do the normal user do? So you need more practice until you know how to correctly use your core wallet. So I think this is a kind of lesson that's what I learned after the FTX crash.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Chang-Wu said. And so at the core of the problem of FTX, it's not centralization versus decentralization. There can be problems in like even decentralized apps. I think the core problem of it is transparency versus like users knowing what they're actually getting into. Like they have to know like what they have signed up for. Like for FTX, they need to know once you deposit into the exchange, it might get moved somewhere to like do other stuff, and that is probably not like something that you're aware of. And this is the same for wallet builders, for exchange builders, like the same. So it's good that more and more people are being aware of like now we have to look at proof of reserve, proof of debt, and all those stuff. I think this is moving the industry into a better direction. And yeah, and I totally agreed with what Chang-Wu said. Like, so a lot of the times a user loses assets not because the application is hacked, or like most of the time they just lose their keys themselves. So yeah, having a easy access and secure enough and like letting the users know what they're actually using is also a crucial factor.
Yeah, so wow, so many abundant information, knowledge packed here. And I hope all the users really learn the lesson, the pros and cons of, you have to secure your own wallet, no matter cold wallet, hot wallet, always learn how to use it properly to protect your assets. Well, so later on, I'm going to ask the last question from the panelists. And after this question, I will open the question for the audience. So, just be ready to ask questions. We have 10 minutes for all the panelists. It's really rare for all these big guys come to the stage. So, take the chance, take these opportunities. Well, the last question that I would like to ask the panelists is that, what's the next big trends for wallet? What's going to happen? Imagine, for next 2 years, 5 years, or even further, what's the ultimate form? So, from this perspective, anyone would like to answer first, or?
Yeah, I can start.
Sure, you can start.
Cool. Yeah, so I think wallet is an oversimplified term for what it actually does. On blockchain, in Web3, it's actually also your identity. And people are not focusing enough on that aspect. So I think it will be linked more to your identity, and it comes in two directions. So one is who you actually are in the real life. So you have DID, you do KYC, you encrypt the audited data and store it somewhere on chain, and you have the option to decrypt some of it, and when you're using a fiat on-ramp, off-ramp, you can let the operator know a part of your information. That is one source of your identity. And another source of your identity is your on-chain identity. And it's also in a lot of the times, it's actually more important than who you actually are in real life. For example, what you have done on blockchain, which application you have integrated with, which kind of NFT you're into. These informations are very important for other applications to target, so this user is the kind of user that I want. So with more of these on-chain history or soulbound tokens, you gradually build up your on-chain identity. So I think wallet will have to serve this aspect of its functionality. So to serve as your identity in the Web3 world.
Identity is the key word here. Yeah. So anyone would like to share your view for the future?
Okay. I just gave a talk at DevCon just a couple months ago to speak of what does a wallet looks like in the future. So I think the key thing, there are two technical things we can do is one is we call it MPC wallet. It's use the multi-party computation, and the other is we call it abstract account wallet. It's more like a smart contract wallet. I mean, even you don't know what is an abstract account. So for MPC wallet, I think it's a good idea. It's just like a hybrid wallet. So it's basically just like a multi-signature. But the different thing is user can request the transaction, but it need to have another service party to help him to sign the transaction. So it's just more like you need to combine two people's effort. Then you can send the transaction. So the advantage of this kind of technique is because for the user, they don't know what kind of a transaction of the data, exactly what I sign. So, but for the service provider, because we know smart contract more well than they know, so we know this might be a scam or this might be malicious. So we can just stop him to prevent from signing the data. It's just more like a credit card company doing. Before you, swap your transaction, then they will send you a message to tell you, oh, this might be a scam. So, because for non-custodial wallet, if you only have one single private key, then you just offload your responsibility to the user. But for the normal users, they don't know what is my responsibility. So how do we protect my data? So if we can have some hybrid, scheme, then I think this is much better. And the other thing is we call it the abstract account wallet. It's a very popular term in Ethereum ecosystem, but I think it might be popular in maybe 2 or 3 years, because the fundamental thing is we need to build the protocol first. So I think at the beginning it will only happen in layer 2, but not in main chain for now. So yeah, so this is why I think in the future.
Thanks, Chang-Wu. Before going to Michael, just have a little sharing, because I, as a 2 times phishing hacks victims or scam hacks. Now, FTX is 3rd time. So so there are so many things happening right now, like during the last few years. So we know that users want to do your own research, but it's really hard because so many things happen. So Chang-Wu is talking about maybe the service provider they have more like a professional view, what is risky, what is not risky. So by combining, users can control their own wallet, and also wallet provider can give some advice or no. And so I think that's very useful tips, useful trend for the future. Last but not least, I would like to know what Michael think about the future of wallet.
We are seeing an increasing number of NFT projects, DAO, or any kind of Web3 project that run their treasury in a decentralized format. And those teams, some unfortunately happen to keep their assets on FTX. Those suffered. Those who didn't lose their funds in the event are moving their assets to a non-custodial wallet. And the next trend we are seeing the growth is a combination of multi-sig smart contract like a Genosis plus a cold wallet has become a more popular choice for some sort of enterprise solution for teams like NFT projects or Web3 teams, treasuries to keep their assets safe. And in the meantime, have more than one person holding the key. So it's not like one person in charge of the whole treasury. So we think that application will drive more healthy growth of the Web3 team's treasury management.
Sure, thanks, Michael. Hello? Hello, can you? Yeah, thanks for Michael sharing. Well, now it's very important time. Now we are open the question for the audience. If you have any question, please raise your hand. All right, there's a guy. Can you stand up and give the microphone?
Hello, hello. Hey, thanks for the great panel, and thanks for speaking to self-custody. That's definitely one of the most important things about our movement. So one of you mentioned identity and how it ties in, and it might tie into a lot of our on-chain activity so that anyone can see, like what we're doing with our finances. So what can end users look to in the future to figuring out privacy for wallets, I guess? And how are wallet providers, I guess, purging information they may be holding on to with their users? As you know, like Infura MetaMask recently had a bunch of stuff about them collecting IP addresses. So, thank you.
Which panelist would like to answer? Well,
okay, maybe I will go first. So I think there are two questions. So the first is how do we protect what is the identity and how do we protect the identity? So this is just like Hsuan mentioned, we need to have a key recovery first so we can have a DID. So I think the extra account is the future solution. And once we can have it, we can do social recovery or self-recovery because at least this moment, it's really hard for the users to secure their secret or the private key. So this is a pretty hardcore things at this moment. And for the second question, it's talking about private issue. So I think what Tim mentioned is when the user send a transaction, and because we need to go into a kind of endpoint, it's just like an API. So the server will remember the IP address and the transaction data. So they know how to find the IP address with the transaction. So it is a kind of a compromise the user's privacy. So what we can do is, because what we are doing for now is we will provide the user to have a customized RPC solution. So that means you can, choose any kind of RPC to route your transaction. So because for now, I think there are maybe 2 or 3 service providers like Hopper, one RPC, and the other company, I forgot, they are provide the privacy server, so the user can send a transaction to their RPC endpoint first. So they can, kind of hiding your IP address to send a transaction. It's kind of a way to protect users' privacy.
Sure.
Yeah, I want to add a little bit more to that. So, so privacy is definitely one thing that all Web3 users or applications care a lot about. Like comparing Web 2 and Web 3. Like in Web 2, like you're by default allowing like these service providers to collect your data, and you're adding a disallow list. Like I don't want to collect this. I don't want to approve this cookie collection, and that's the way of Web 2. But in Web 3, although not all wallet providers are implementing this, but like we all should. It should be more like an allow list. So by default, you're not exposing anything, but with your consent, like we can collect something, but in return we offer some more service or some token, or for example, in exchange for the data that you're willing to provide. So that is one direction that people are being more and more aware of, like that people are more and more care more and more about. And on the other front, the identity part, I think in order for you to actually have an on-chain identity, like we have to move from like EOA accounts, like more for example like abstract accounts, and in a lot of blockchains they have like native multi-sig functionality and key rotation. That is one key for you to actually preserve your identity, because you don't want to lose your identity once you leak your private key. Like you should be able to rotate that key, that dirty key out, and like use another key, but you still hold on to your own identity. So that is like what we see a lot of ecosystems are moving toward.
Sure. Thanks for sharing. And now we only have 40 seconds left, so we might not have chance for the other audience to ask a question. Short summary, it's really amazing talks, conversation among us. And wallet is definitely the passport and gateway to the Web3. And like as a user, we definitely have to learn how to use these wallets and kind of know what the different pros and cons of different wallets. And I hope that today's panels, as a user, we learn something from this panel and really implement it in our daily life to protect our own assets. Hopefully, we have another Bu Zhi DAO in the future. Of course, right? Please give all the panelists a round of applause and thank you also, so coming to the stage.